So let's say if we started with the range here that starts in column H, and now we have the option to format it as a table. So this is the exact same data, but what I've done is I've gone to format and I've said convert to table. All right, so you get all of these extra features that we will go through. Just give you a teaser. There's one. To talk about what you get when you put it into a table, and then you'll be able to decide if a table's right for your spreadsheet. So let's just leave this data here on the right for now, and we'll come over to the table. And the first concept that we'll talk about is that the table as a whole now is kind of its own entity. So it has a name, and that name will come up later when we're referencing the table. So there are new types of references that you can put in the formulas. But the table also has its own controls. So we will go through most of these later, but you can do things, exciting things like change colors in here. Let's just do that. We'll change it to purple. Okay, all right, now we'll move on to some of the kind of superpowers that these tables give you that you'll never be able to do with data that's just in a regular format like this. So we will come over and we will use the views control. So we'll click on that. And what we can do here is we can group it by any of the columns. So grouping it by the amounts might not make sense, but let's do it by the items. And you'll see what this does is takes each unique value in the column that you specify and groups them together and gives you a little header row also. So by doing this in this example, you'll see that there's a lot of pencils, and this put them all together. And it added this row. This is why it's kind of interesting to use this other, to leave this other table here. It added the row, but then it put it in a numbered row. So you'll see we're in row 3, and we go down to row 4, but we skip this one where the header is. And one of the benefits of that is if you have other data in your spreadsheet, it's still contiguous. Those spaces don't really count. All right, so we're going to undo that view, but if you liked it, you could save it and call it something. It's really not that complicated to just do it again though. So, all right, so let's go back to the filter controls and just exit that view. No, don't save. That'll kind of reset everything. Those rows go away. And we'll look at what these column controls do. So we'll click on order date. And what you get here is an important concept that's made a lot easier this way. So you used to have to do this through data validation. You have to write out the rules. But now if you want this column to be a date, one, it already guessed that. Right? So when you converted this to a table, it saw that they were dates. It said, that's all I'm going to allow in here. If you wanted to change it to date times because you wanted to add more granular data, you could do that here. Let's just do that to see what happens. So it changes the view where you could make this one, this order date at 12:30 p.m., just like that. All right, we'll click that column to custom fit it. And let's look at some other things that are going on here. It gives you the option to filter it easily just by clicking here. And you can also insert columns from the left and the right. But when you insert these columns, it's also aware that this is a table. So before we do that, let's put fake data in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we will come into here and we'll say insert a column to the left. And it inserted that column in the table, but left the data that's outside of the table intact. So these tables respect the rest of your spreadsheet, if you will. We will come in and we will delete that column. And I'll show you two other ways to easily add columns and rows. One is you come over to the right and you get this little plus. Click on that. That's easy. And every row, as you move around, you can just add one below it like that. All right, same thing. This shifted down the table, but over here, it left these rows intact. So it's a very important thing to be aware of. And let's clean this up a little bit. So we'll go here, we'll delete this row, and you'll see it says delete table row. So that's good. We'll do that. We'll get rid of this. We'll just keep that column on there, it won't matter. All right, now I'm going to show you the biggest advantage you get from tables, or at least if you're working with a lot of formulas. What you can do now is you can reference columns in the table or reference the entire table. And as you add and delete rows, those references automatically adjust. All right, so they're also easy to remember because you're going to say sales history items instead of B2 through B8, right? So they become kind of plain English. What we will do, let's multiply the units times the unit cost. So a formula that will let you do that with entire columns is called sum product. And we'll do this with our mouse, but watch what it writes out. So we'll grab all of the units, and it uses this new syntax where it has the name of the table, sales history, and then the name of the column, units. And then for sum product, is it a comma? Yeah. We'll give it the second column to multiply. So it will go through each line. It's going to say 95 through $1.99 plus 50 times $19.99. We'll close this off. We'll hit enter. And it multiplied everything out, and it said it's $2,239. All right, so that's a lot of the cool things you can do with tables, but let's dive deeper into the table references. In this next video, we're going to go through lots of different examples and show you exactly how they work. Thanks for watching.